Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I am your host, Uncivil Law, a licensed attorney in Texas, Virginia, and before the U.S. Supreme Court, and I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the Thunderdome! Yes, it is our weekly series where the weak stories that otherwise passed our attention come to face each other in a battle royale format, where they can all fight each other for best supremacy of which is best story, strangest story, most outlandish story, or otherwise warms the story level hole that is inside our hearts and must be filled. And that is what we're here for. We are here for Thunderdome. And I hope that you're having a great day as well. The United States government has continued its plans to let me try that again. The United States government has continued its plans to reclassify marijuana, which is currently Schedule 1 under the Controlled Substances Act, but is looking to be rescheduled as Schedule 3. This has been a bit coming now for quite a while. The White House originally tasked HHS, Health and Human Services, with a request, would you please consider reclassifying marijuana? And HHS went away for a while, and then after a couple months came up and said, you know what? We think marijuana should be reclassified. And then it went off to DEA and said, hey, DEA, would you like to reclassify marijuana? And DEA, which is part of the Department of Justice, says yes. So the Department of Justice today promulgated its official rule, which would change the certification of marijuana. The Controlled Substances Act allows for this, incidentally. The Controlled Substances Act is an act of Congress which specifies that different things are under different schedules, but also specifies that the administration can reclassify by going through this process of approval of both HHS and DEA, which is exactly what's happened. The final rule has just been published, and it should become final within a relatively short period. So this is coming and coming soon. So let's read a little bit more about this. President Biden has endorsed the Justice Department's recommendation, which makes sense because it was really his recommendation in the first place. The president was the one who asked HHS to please do it in the first place. So they're like just saying, yeah, boss, we agree with you, which is perfectly fine, incidentally. I have no problem with this. The chief executive is, after all, the chief executive of the executive branch, and he would like the executive branch to do things for him. And they're like, yes, boss, we would like to do those things. So that's fine. So he's endorsed himself, but that's okay. He's endorsed the Justice Department's recommendation to loosen restrictions on marijuana, which has been a long expected measure, saying, quote, far too many lives have been upended because of a failed approach to marijuana and committed to righting these previous wrongs. The Justice Department, in the form of the DEA, after getting the go-ahead from the White House and also HHS, will publish an official notice, or more to the point, has published official notice, although I guess strictly speaking it won't be published till tomorrow, but either way, opening up the 2-month period under the Administrative Procedures Act for formal comment before the rule becomes final, which it absolutely will. The rule reclassifies marijuana as a Schedule 3 controlled substances, and it will not go into effect, of course, until the rule becomes finalized. Now, this is a pretty big deal, in my opinion, and a long overdue step, in my opinion. My objections to marijuana as Schedule 1 is simply one of logic. In order to be Schedule 1, by legal definition, it has to have no possible medical use. It's right in the definition. If you go look up the Controlled Substances Act, in order for it to be Schedule 1, it must have no medical use. But that seems absurd when it comes to marijuana. Now, you may not think marijuana is the greatest drug ever. You may not think that it should be recreational. And I think those are all possibly valid opinions. I'm not here really to take an opinion on those issues right now. The only thing I'm here to take an opinion on is that it shouldn't be Schedule 1 because it doesn't meet the definition. And I like definitions. I like definitions that make sense. And this is not in the scope of definitions that make sense. So rescheduling it as Schedule 3, or really anything other than Schedule 1, makes way more sense. Also, as a benefit for it to being Schedule 3, it means that expenses that are induced as a result of the legal trade of marijuana can be written off in taxes. This has been a massive issue for marijuana-related enterprises because it is Schedule 1, and also incidentally true for Schedule 2 drugs, the expenses related to the businesses cannot be written off on your taxes. So it becomes incredibly more expensive because instead of getting the 25% off that you would otherwise, you don't get the 25% off otherwise. So all your expenses become much more expensive. Plus, it also makes it much easier to conduct research on marijuana not being Schedule 1. Because it has no possible medical use, there's no reason to do research on it. And so you can't do research to prove that it has medical use. And around we go. So trying to find people to do research on this it's possible, but extremely tricky to get approval at best. And there's not a lot of legal people right now doing research on marijuana. So this will make it much easier to do further research on marijuana, which I think will be a benefit to everyone as we try to learn more about its potential medicinal uses as it remains controlled. Marijuana will not become legal in the sense of being recreational on the federal level, but moves out of the Schedule 1 category, which, as I mentioned, by definition, has no potential medical use. Other things that are in Schedule 1 include heroin and LSD. Things that are not in Schedule 1 include such things as meth and cocaine. Meth and cocaine are legal. You can get them prescribed to you by your doctor. Cocaine, or more properly, cocaine is used as a nasal anesthetic sometimes, even today, in a clinical setting. Numbrino, if you want to go look it up, it is one of its trade names. You can get cocaine suspended in a nasal solution. How fun. And meth is legal too. It's legal for ADHD. So you can get meth prescribed to you by your doctor. It is at least hypothetically legally possible. So prescription meth, no problem. Or prescription cocaine, no problem. But marijuana, oh no, it's much, much worse than any of these things. This does not make sense to my logical brain. I object on a logical level. So this makes more sense. Marijuana as Schedule 3 would join the same class of drugs as ketamine, anabolic steroids, and testosterone. So steroids are Schedule 3. Ketamine is Schedule 3. Testosterone, Schedule 3. So it's joining a class of drugs that, that makes way more sense. Biden, in his statement, described it as an important move towards reversing longstanding inequalities, citing mass pardons he did, which probably didn't really release anyone from jail, but to some degree that isn't necessarily the point. Although it could be the point, depending on your point of view. Pardons don't just mean that you get out of jail, although that's also obviously nice. Pardons also mean your criminal record disappears. So it makes you make sure that you don't have that conviction on your record anymore for such purposes as, for example, employment, or for such purposes as various federal programs. So it may or may not have released anyone from jail. There's some dispute on that issue, but even if it didn't, it cleared up a bunch of people's records so that they can get access to governmental programs that they wouldn't otherwise have access to, or governmental employment they otherwise wouldn't have access to. So, hey, there's some benefit there. The video on Thursday marked the first time Biden has explicitly supported reclassification. Well, that depends on your point of view. Again, he did ask HHS to if they would be so kind to please look into it if you wouldn't mind. I think we all knew what he wanted in advance, but sure. It's the first time that he said anything about it explicitly, sure. Vice President Harris, saying something that is reasonable on this point, called marijuana Schedule 1 absurd, which I agree. It's absurd. It literally doesn't meet the definition. And I like definitions. I like definitions that make sense. The move comes a little more than 2 weeks after the Attorney General, as head of the Justice Department, recommended to the White House that marijuana be rescheduled. Well, that's amazing. The Attorney General was able to detect the decoder ring. Hey, HHS, would you mind looking into this? And HHS says, hey, DEA, would you mind looking into this? And the Attorney General is like, it looks like you might want me to reschedule. Did I interpret what you wanted correctly? I think so. The recommendation was applauded by cannabis supporters who, for decades, have complained that the federal government has exaggerated the dangers of the drug, which, by definition, they have. Because in order for it to be Schedule 1, it has to have no possible medical use, and that seems a bit absurd. Again, I have no particular position on whether or not it should be decriminalized right now. I have no particular position on anything except Schedule 1 makes no logical sense. And I like logic, and this doesn't work. Marijuana's Schedule 1 status had meant that it's tightly controlled because the federal government, by definition, sees no medical value on it. That's in the definitions. It's right there. And high potential for abuse. It's also there. Stripping the designation would provide researchers with easier access to cannabis. Yes, Again, technically, it's possible to get access to research marijuana as Schedule 1, but good luck. Good luck getting access. There's not a lot of programs out there because it's really, really hard. And the DEA monitors your every step like you're literally, dealing in drugs. So it's not a fun experience. Stripping the designation will allow researchers easier access. And as I mentioned before, marijuana companies that are in the process of this will be able to deduct related business expenses from their bills. So their tax bills will go down substantially as it relates to the expenses, because now they can write off those expenses, which means those portions of the tax bills basically go down by 25%, which is a pretty big deal. This boon will be massive for the industry that has struggled with the high operating costs because, of the 25% penalty that I just mentioned, basically on top of everything. The ultimate goal, they say, is federal legalization, according to the executive director of U.S. Cannabis Council. And we see Schedule 3 as a necessary and critical step along the way. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Take what you can get and fight for the rest another day. So they may very well wind up getting the whole thing declassified, removed from the Controlled Substances Act by an act of Congress or otherwise. But hey, you take what you can get and fight for another day. And this is a pretty big deal. So that's pretty awesome. And I think we should all applaud the government for actually, sticking to definitions. Definitions are nice. In the announcement, Biden said that no one should go to jail for using marijuana, but legal experts say reclassification would have limited effect on the criminalization of marijuana. Well, in so much as the reclassification doesn't directly impact any state law or any state conviction, then sure. Which obviously that's a lot of convictions and a lot of things would be under state law. But hey, again, you take what you can get and fight for the rest for another day. Plus, of course, the states are always free to take notice of this, as some states have, and pardon or otherwise legislate it out of existence. So either the governor can pardon or the legislature can say, those crimes, those aren't crimes anymore. So legislative action would be fine. And maybe in light of this, they'll do that. The drug, of course, remains illegal for recreational use. And most prosecutions, of course, do happen in state court. Few people go to federal prison for marijuana possession, which is true as far as it goes. But then again, it's on your record. And that is a big deal for federal benefit programs, entitlements, federal jobs, and other things relating to federal opportunities. Some cannabis advocates say reclassification is an incremental step that doesn't address the fundamental disconnect between criminalization and the reality that majority of Americans live in states where, at least according to state law, but not federal law, and even in the new federal law, will not be able to buy it. Although they might be able to get their doctor to write them a script for it. So we might go back to the doctors writing scripts like they used to way back in the day during Prohibition, when they wrote scripts for whiskey. And they'll be our new drug dealers, but that's okay. Ask your doctor if marijuana is right for you. Coming to your TV anytime now. The implication of rescheduling for existing legal state markets are especially murky. It has no implications because marijuana has not been treated as federally regulated medicinal projects sold at those pharmacies. Yeah, well, it doesn't really have any particular implications for the immediacy of state law. But as it becomes legal for the feds to disperse it, then pharmacies will be able to disperse it in accordance with federal law. Meanwhile, cannabis critics fault the Biden administration for normalizing a drug that can be seen as harmful. Again, I wouldn't go so far as to call this normalization. And even if I did call it normalization, again, I like categories. I like things that make sense. I like things that have definitions. I like it when the definitions make sense. And marijuana did not belong in the Schedule 1 bucket. Whatever else you can say about marijuana, it did not belong in the Schedule 1 bucket. So one of two things has got to change. Either you got to change the definition of the bucket, or you got to move it out of the bucket. You can't have both at the same time. And this is a perfectly fine solution. Reclassification of marijuana, which is opposed by some law enforcement, some Republicans, and anti-cannabis groups, could delay again the legal rhetoric challenges. Yeah, no, I'm sure they'll try, but they'll fail. They'll try, but they'll fail. The Controlled Substances Act allows for this. It looks like they followed every step along the way. They followed every jot and tittle of the Controlled Substances Act. They'll try, but they'll fail. The DOJ will publish its final rule after taking into consideration all the comments. It will become scheduled. They'll say you can't do this. The courts will say, yes, I can, and everyone will go home. That seems like the most logical course of things. Pot profiteers have lobbied heavily to sell demonstrably harmful products. Maybe it's demonstrably harmful. Maybe it should be illegal. I don't know, but it shouldn't be Schedule 1. It doesn't belong in the bucket. And now they'll use this announcement to drive even more deliberate misinformation about these high-potency drugs to expand use and addiction, said a former advisor for the National Drug Control Panel. I'm not telling you that marijuana is safe for you. I am telling you it doesn't belong in Schedule 1. Donald Trump has not publicly addressed the move, leading up to the possibility he could attempt to reverse the Biden administration. I suppose he could try, but that'd be really, really hard because he'd have to go back through everything they just went through, although stranger things have happened. Senate Majority Leader Schumer and other Democrats have advocated for legalization to completely remove marijuana. Hey, Congress can do that too. That would be fine. If Congress wants to pass a law that removes marijuana as a matter of federal law, that's what Congress does. They do policy, man. So if they want to change the classification or they even want to rechange the definition of Schedule 1, whatever, they can pass a law, that would be fine. But under the current law as it is, this is fine. Democrats are hoping the shift on marijuana will prove popular with voters ahead of the November election, possibly. Biden's campaign has touted the relaxed stance towards marijuana as a key policy concern. In October of 2020, Biden announced he would pardon anyone convicted of federal crime for possessing marijuana and urged governors to do the same. In the announcement, Biden directed federal health officials to reassess the classification, which, as we mentioned, is something he can do. The FDA, for its part in a scientific analysis, concluded that there's some credible scientific support for some of the ways marijuana has been used as a medicine. Wow, deep. How long did you have to stretch yourself for that? Based on the analysis, HHS recommended to DEA that be reclassified. And DEA, of course, understanding the assignment, said yes. Federal officials have battled for months about how to proceed, with health officials pushing to loosen restrictions on marijuana and drug enforcement officials raising concerns about HHS's approach. But, the president wanted it, so there's that. In April 11th, a memorandum sent to the Attorney General, the Justice Department Office of Legal Counsel largely sided with health officials. No duh. The DEA's approach to determining whether marijuana has acceptable medical treatment is impermissibly narrow, they had written, which, yes, I tend to agree. One of the very last things the Obama administration did, right as it was leaving the gates, right? It probably was January. As they were leaving office. One of the very last things the Obama administration did, the DEA published a report that said that marijuana had no valid medical uses. And I remember reading the executive summary of that and laughing because someone tried really, really hard to prove it. And it was very obvious they tried really, really hard. So whoever at DEA wrote that, you understood your assignment to show why it should be legal despite all evidence to the contrary. But yes, they did have a pretty impermissibly narrow construction of it, so that makes sense. So that brings us to the end of discussion of that story. All right, friends, hello and welcome once again to Uncivil Law. I hope you're well and having a great day. I am pleased to report that after several days of effort, we have an edited video to go out on TikTok. I know, I'm excited too. So for those of you who don't know, we've been doing members only streams the last couple days, and we've been trying to put together an edited video with clips and stuff relating to TikTok and the changes relating to the ban on TikTok. So I expect that will come out tomorrow morning. It's been rendered and everything. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, incidentally, I'm strongly consider making this stream and all future streams relating to the Thunderdome members only after they are filmed. The reason for that would be that I'm planning on cutting up these stories. and releasing them throughout the week as videos on demand, because I'm hopeful that will help a little bit more with some of the content. So we'll have content, because the edited videos are taking a lot of time. So I'm strongly considering leaning to the possibility of, after this stream is over, making it members only, and then releasing clips from it throughout the week, like the story I just did. So fun times. So good times. So we will see how that all goes. And hopefully some of what I'm doing is successful, because I'd really like it to be successful. That would be nice. All right, let's see what else we got in the agenda. All right. Yeah, it's been a journey, but the end product is good. I hope it is good. I hope you will like it. Thanks for the Karen Reed video. You're welcome. And then I edited that down this morning too, because originally that video was like 24 minutes long, and then I cut it in half because it was a little rambly. So I cut it in half. So I'm glad you liked it. I tried hard. Also, incidentally, of course, by the way, if you have suggestions for the channel or you want to provide feedback or your thoughts on any or all this, you're welcome, of course, to join our Discord and join the conversation. So if you have thoughts about this, please join our Discord and provide your thoughts there, and we can see what people like. I think that's the best way to get some feedback on things. So we'll see how it goes out. All right. All right. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Change the background color. All right. In self-driving technology may not quite be ready for full prime time yet, Amazon's self-driving Robotaxi unit is under investigation after 2 rear-end crashes. So while I certainly think that self-driving technology has come a long way and can even be useful to users while they're driving, I don't think we're quite ready for full autonomous driving yet. And we've seen some problems relating to this in different jurisdictions, and Amazon is currently under investigation for its part as well, because it's not quite ready for prime time, but they keep trying to push it. Amazon's self-driving Robotaxi unit is being investigated by the U.S. Department of Transportation after 2 of its vehicles braked suddenly and were rear-ended by motorcycles. NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, said it will evaluate the automatic driving system developed by Zoox. And right away, I'm like, this can't possibly be legal. The self-driving technology was created by a company called Zoox, and you want me to take you seriously? I feel like there should be a law against that. Both crashes involved a Toyota Highlander with autonomous driving. They happened during daytime hours, and the agency confirmed that Amazon's vehicles were operating in the autonomous mode leading up to crashes. In one crash, a motorcyclist suffered minor injuries, and the Zoox driver, I guess we'll call them, is driver the right word? The Zoox occupant reported minor injuries in the other, according to reports. Both happened in the last month, one in San Francisco and the other in Nevada. NHTSA has said the probe will focus on performance of the company's automated driving system during the crash, as well as how it behaved in crosswalks around pedestrians and other road users. In a statement, Zoox, which apparently is the name of a real company, said it will continue working with NHTSA to answer the questions. Transparency and collaboration with regulators is of the utmost importance. Well, you know, that's probably true, but again, maybe a little bit more testing would have been helpful. Zoox, for its part, reports the crashes under an order to automated vehicle companies issued in 2021. Yeah, because the federal government would like to know a little bit about these technologies you're putting out on the road. And if they crash, we'd really like to know about it. Amazon apparently acquired Zoox for $1 billion. We paid $1 billion for something called Zoox. Okay. In 2023, the Foster City, California said one of its funky-looking 4-person shuttles autonomously carried employees on public roads between the Zoox buildings. Well, I mean, yes, but carrying shuttles between 2 buildings on a known route that are 1.6 kilometers away is not quite the same thing as some of the stuff that's going on now. That's a little bit broad. The company launches shuttle service exclusively for its employees, which again is a much easier use case. Hey, robot, please travel these exact known roads, this 1.6 kilometers, and just travel between these two exact points. That's a little bit of an easier use case than drive all the roads under all the conditions. There's not quite the same thing. Zoox's shuttles didn't have steering wheels or pedals. The carriage-style interior of the vehicle had two benches that face each other. It's capable of going up to 75 miles an hour. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to pass on the Zoox right now. I'm not saying that I won't ever drive or be in an autonomous car. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I'm like morally opposed to the thing, but you can be the beta tester on that one, and I'll get back to you at a later time. Zoox said it's working with NHTSA. In 2022, the agency began looking at the company's certification to make sure they met federal standards. NHTSA said for its part that would look into whether Zoox used its own test procedures. Hey, that doesn't sound familiar at all. Anyone remember Volkswagen when they did that? It's like, you know how we're going to pass the emissions test? We're going to cheat. So maybe Zoox also cheated. But surely you can trust a name like Zoox. But they're going to check anyway to determine whether the standards weren't applicable because of Robotaxi's unique configuration. All right, so they're going to look into that to figure out what's going on with that. So Robotaxi's not quite ready for prime time. We'll check into that later. And that, for the moment, brings us to discussion of that story. All right. Let's see what else we got. Okay. U.S. airlines would really like to continue charging you fees that they're not necessarily completely upfront about news. U.S. airlines are suing the Biden administration over a rule that would make the fees easier to spot. So the Biden administration is all over here like, you know what would be great? What if, when you were selling the product to the consumer, you were just simply clear about your fees up front so the consumer knew what they were buying and how much it was costing them? And the airlines are like, we're going to sue you so we don't have to tell the consumer about that. Yeah, I don't know about that one, man. U.S. airlines are suing to block the Biden administration for requiring transparency over fees that the airlines would charge their passengers, saying the new rule would confuse customers by giving them too much information during the ticket buying process. Yeah, that definitely sounds plausible. The problem is the consumer would have too much information. We'd be throwing too many numbers at them. The numbers that they have to pay. And we would have to tell them about the numbers, and that would be really confusing. It would be strange and confusing and difficult for them. The U.S. Department of Transportation, for it said, it will defend the rule that says, you know, maybe you should just tell people what you're going to charge them. That would be great. The trade group Airlines for America said the Transportation Department is going beyond its authority by attempting to regulate operations in a thriving marketplace. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I mean, please tell the consumer about how much you're charging them. I don't know whether or not that's necessarily within the DOT's regulation. That might be a different agency, like maybe the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, or something like that. But it's got to be within the province of some agency. Just please, how about you tell them how much you're charging them? That's got to be legal for somebody. Yeah. The airline said the administration hasn't shown consumers can't get information. Yes, I'm sure the consumer can get the information if they go down the stairs into the filing cabinet and turn on the light that's guarded by the alligator. But, you know, maybe a little bit more prominent notice would be nice. The Department of Transportation said that airlines go to great lengths to make their customer knowledgeable about the fees, or rather the airline industry said that. Yeah, the airlines go to great lengths to make sure that they're aware, which is why we're super, super not willing to have this rule go in place. The ancillary fee rule by the DOT will greatly confuse consumers who will be inundated by information that will serve to complicate the buying process. Again, that information being how much we're charging you and for what. So the fees could be more directly compared. How much is this airline charging you for this fee versus this fee agency? And so forth and so on. The Department of Transportation announced the rule on April the 24th. It would require airlines and travel agencies to disclose upfront any charges for baggaging and canceling or changing a reservation. Seems pretty reasonable. Airlines must show the fee on the first website page where they quote the price for the flight. Again, just honesty in trade, right? This is basic honesty in trade. Just tell the consumer literally what they're paying. Just honesty in business. Honesty in trade. Should be figure. The agency estimates the rules will save consumers more than $500 million. And even if it didn't literally save one penny, it would still be good because consumers would know what they're buying. So even if it didn't save money, it would still be good, but it will probably save money. The Department of Transportation, for its part, said, we will vigorously defend our rule, protecting people from hidden fees and ensuring travelers can see the full price of flights before they purchase the ticket. Wow, what an amazing concept. Maybe if we tell them the price up front, they'll be able to make a more well-informed purchasing decision and compare those rates as between airlines. And they can say things like, hey, airline number 1 is charging $35, but airline 2 is charging $50 for the same thing. What gives? And then maybe they'd be forced to compete on those fees and stuff. But that's just a madman's thought. The department also said many air travelers will be disappointed to learn the airline lobbying is suing to stop these common sense protections. Yeah, but obviously they want their cash cow. Among the nation's 6 biggest airlines, only Southwest didn't join the challenge, which was filed in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans. Southwest will say the rule has little to no effect because it already lets them check bags for free and has never charged extra fees for canceling reservations. So Southwest is like, this is cool with us because we get to put a big fat 0 on it. How much do you charge for bags? 0. How much do you charge for changing a reservation? 0. How much do you charge for canceling a reservation? 0. So Southwest is all super happy over here. Yes, we're happy to tell the customer we're not charging them anything. Amazing. They seem totally fine with that. I wonder why the other airlines are less than happy. Overall, Southwest said, we support every airline's right to price its products, but believes the fees should be disclosed as they want to. That sounds perfectly fine. Hey, that sounds like free trade to me. That sounds like free trade and fair dealing in commerce, right? You have a right to free and fair trade. And what makes it fair? Well, among other things, that both sides know exactly what they're getting. And both sides are, in fact, getting that thing. That's one of the things that makes it fair. Both sides know what they're getting and are, in fact, getting that thing. They understood the deal and actually got the deal. So there was no confusion in the making of the deal, and there's no confusion in the delivery of the deal. That's pretty much the definition of a fair deal. And then, the free deal is the fact that they get to make the choice. So yes, they have the ability to make both a free and fair decision in the marketplace. So that sounds pretty okay, but the airlines aren't super happy about it. And that is the end of this story. All right, good times. All right. All right, this is fun. I like this story. Tony, did you put the story in the one there? This feels like a you story. But the man with the boat, this feels like you. All right. In People Will See My Boat, No Matter What You Make Me Do news, a man was forced to put a fence to hide his boat, but he decided to paint the fence by painting a picture of his boat on the fence. People will see my boat no matter what they do. I will have my boat be seen by all, says the man. I love this guy. I love this guy because it's petty and it complies with the rules. It's malicious compliance, and I'm here for it. The California man was told by the city he needed to put up a fence to hide his boat. He said okay, but he had a plan. The man received a letter from the city of Seaside. The city required him to build a 6-foot coverage screen in front of the boat. After discussing the plan, he decided to build the fence with a lifelike painting of the boat on it. I love this guy. I love this guy. I'm not a rule breaker, but I'd like to make a political statement. Here is a picture of the fence with a picture of the fence with the boat. And you can see exactly what he did. And I have to say, it's a pretty good painting, right? It's a pretty good painting. And you can see the top part of the boat behind the fence. It's peeking up. And then right in front of it is a picture of the boat painted on the fence with it on its carrier like it's ready to go, man. I love it. It's awesome. He's warmed a place in my heart, man. The man has said he's happy with how the mural turned out. I think it turned out pretty good too. Images of the fence have gone viral online with thousands of comments. Both the artists behind the display said they're surprised of how big a response they've had. People love it. It's great. It's a very good 3D rendering of the boat. It makes me feel like I'm one with the boat. I feel connected by the boat. I'm all in favor of generating discussion and making people smile, the man said. The reaction is extremely more than we ever expected, and we're both tickled about it. So far, the city's not responded to the mural because what are they going to say? We put up a fence and we painted it. What are you going to say? The man says he considers his First Amendment right and be surprised that the city takes him to take it down. They're probably going to find some regulation about it, but maybe you can just put in a little picture or whatever. He'll find a solution, I'm sure. The man who painted the mural says the piece creates a conversation about what is an eyesore and what's an art. Fair. I'm a big proponent of public art spaces. It engages people in ways and reaching out and having conversations that does not happen other side. With all the attention the photo's getting, the man who painted it says other residents have already asked him to paint murals for their boats as well. So everyone will see everyone's boats from the road. The man gets all the business in the world. The city gets their fences. Everyone's happy. And that is the end of that story. What a great story that is. All right. Okay. Monotone faint pencil ordinance. That sounds about right, man. That sounds about right. In hot cop news, a police officer has been fired after groping an adult content creator in a video for a certain website dedicated to fans of a fake traffic stop. So this adult performer wanted some realism in her skit for her fan-related website and got a real police officer in uniform to grope her during a fake traffic stop for the video that went up on her fan-supported website. That's just awesome right there. Here is a picture of the groping taking place during the fake traffic stop. How exciting. The video, which was entitled "Can't Believe He Didn't Arrest Me," was originally posted by a woman named Jordan, who was sitting in the driver's seat. A man in the passenger seat is heard telling Jordan she knew she'd be pulled over for how fast she was driving. The man pans the camera back, and while a white squad car is seen, Jordan is then heard saying, "I'm not going to get a ticket. I'm going to show him my breasts." But not breasts, a different word. Moments later, an officer approaches the driver's side door and identifies himself as Officer Johnson of the PD. Officer Johnson? I mean, isn't that a little on the nose? I mean, couldn't you have found something a little bit more sub rosa? Officer Johnson, it's breaking the immersion for me. It's just breaking the immersion for me. I'm not feeling it, man. The officer tells Jordan she is going 65 in a 45 before asking for license and registration. Jordan, the actress, tells the officer that she doesn't have either and then proceeds to expose her breasts. The officer tells Jordan, "Ma'am, it's 2024. I can see breasts on the internet anytime." Jordan responds with, Well, what if you touch them? The officer agrees and is seen reaching into the car and groping the woman's breasts before grabbing his own equipment and through his pants. The camera, which is careful not to show the officer's face, but shows what appears to be the bottom half of a Metro Nashville Police Department patch on the officer's shoulder. Yeah, the eagle-eyed viewers of the fans were able to figure out what patch that was. Good times. The officer then tells Jordan that they're letting her go with a warning. The video ends with Jordan thanking the officer, the man sitting next to Jordan in disbelief. Metro Nashville Police told the news that they were made aware of the video. It's like, hey, this seems to be one of your patches. You got any thoughts about that? And immediately launched an investigation. That's when they discovered that the officer in the video was Herman. Herman, yeah, who had been with the department since 2021 and apparently was fired. You can get fired by the police department? Wow. I mean, I know it's possible, but damn. I mean, you have to really try for that one, right? Police spokesman said they believe the stunt was planned. You think? You think it was planned? You think? Between all three parties and was shot sometime at the end of April. Metro Nashville Police say it's not clear if Herman was on the clock while shooting the video, although it'd be even more hilarious. The police spokesperson said that was one of the most outrageous, disrespectful acts a person could do. And by disrespectful, I mean to all the employees and the agencies. Metro Nashville has no further thoughts on the issue. Unclear whether Officer Johnson will gain re-employment as a private security guard for the woman in the future. And that, for the moment, is at least the end of that story. Fantastic. All right. What if I made like every live on the channel members only? That's actually like actually half a thought. What if I like made every video? What if I made like every live video members only? Like in the entire history of the channel. All of them. I wonder if that would help with the numbers. Let's see what else we got. Okay. I'll save that potentially later. Let's see what else we got. All right, let's do this one. Judge Judy. Is there a Judge Judy lawsuit in here? In the queue? I don't see a Judge Judy lawsuit in the queue, so if there's a Judge Judy story, you'll have to tell Tony about it, because it's not, I don't think it's in the list. Okay. In Postal employees looking for a different gig news, 7 Postal workers have been charged as being part of a theft ring, which, you know, they have access to all those wonderful moving trucks, otherwise known as mail carriers, to be able to move things. So, you know, and they work in a system that's all about distribution of stuff. So that's all that good stuff. So it makes a lot of sense to me. Federal investigators have broken up the well-organized and wide-ranging conspiracy to steal valuables from the mail. They're going to have a bad time, man. They're going to have they messed with the mail, man. They're going to have a bad time. The alleged conspiracy involves a supervisor and 6 other workers at the USPS Processing and Distribution Center in Providence, which handles all incoming and outgoing mail for Rhode Island and Southern Massachusetts. The U.S. Attorney announced arrest Wednesday afternoon alongside the special agents from the Postal Inspectors Unit. Now, I always thought that the Postal Inspectors were kind of like one of the more badass police units that, you know, you don't ever hear about. But I like Postal Inspectors, I always had a soft spot for as a law enforcement agency, one of the ones that goes unnoticed. And the reason I think the Postal Service is one of the more badass units that's out there is because their jurisdiction is the mail. and mail goes everywhere. So, I mean, like, if you are a law enforcement and you're looking for a law enforcement gig that gives you access to everything, postal inspectors got to be up there because you have access to the mail, and the mail goes everywhere. The following employees have been charged. We got Cyril Murray, Darren Camacho, Ferdinand Camacho, Willie Estrada, Ryan Lee, Angel Riviera, and Andre Williams of Providence, except for the supervisor, who's of Pawtucket, and Ryan Lee, who's of Cranston. The facility handles roughly 3.5 million pieces of mail every day. Investigators allege that from March 2023 to February 2024, those who worked on the mail as mail sorters would pull out envelopes out of the stream, then funnel them into their backpacks. They would meet up later to divide the take. You're going to have a bad time, man. You're going to have a bad time. Every piece of mail is a separate felony, man. This is going to be bad. As an example, they said during the holiday season, the suspects would target brightly colored envelopes that may contain cash, checks, or gift cards. They stole from Santa? That's no good, man. That's no good. You shouldn't steal from Santa. It's currently unclear how much money was stolen, but they indicate that there is massive loss, I would think. The government says at one point, one of the suspects was caught with backpack stuffed with business envelopes that contained $1.3 million worth of checks. That is a lot of checks, man. That is a lot of checks. I would emphasize that thefts are not isolated. They're going to prison forever. They're going for prison forever. Every one of those is a federal felony. They're going to prison forever. Surveillance conducted during the investigation shows mobile members of the conspiracy engaged in taking, setting aside, and smuggling stolen mail of the facility. Oh, dude. You have such problems. You have so many problems. I mean, you were stealing, but the thing you were stealing is mail. Dude, do you have a death wish? Dude, come on. So that, I don't think that's going to end well for them. I think they're going to be spending many, many quality years in jail to come. Don't steal from the mail, kids. It's a very bad idea. And that brings us from the end of that story. One of my mods was kind enough to dig up the Judge Judy story. So we will now cover the Judge Judy story. All right. In Judge Judy may not be the cash cow that she once was news, Judge Judy, otherwise known as Judith Sheindlin, to those who know her best, is at the center of a potential multi-million-dollar lawsuit. The court show, which is known for its sizzling shutdowns at the hand of her host, Judge Judith Sheindlin, who had a 25-year career as a real judge in family law in New York before she became a TV judge. So she's been around a long time. She's been doing this for a hot minute, man. But she's now in the midst of her own drama. The talent agency filed a potential multi-million-dollar lawsuit against CBS, claiming the media giant failed to pay the agency millions of dollars worth of profit. So they're like, we're not getting our cut of the Judge Judy money. And she's making way, way more money than she ever did as a judge or any judge has ever contemplated. So she is an interesting woman. If you're ever in the mood, there's a great 60-minute segment about Judge Judy when she was still a New York judge. So if you're ever in the mood and you want to go online, it's on YouTube. You can find it. Just put Judge Judy or try Judith Sheindlin if you want to try her real name. Judith Sheindlin, 60 minutes. And there's an episode before she became Judge Judy, and she has basically the same personality. It's kind of interesting to watch. It's an interesting tale. But apparently, the talent agency is not getting paid what it's supposed to. The lawsuit alleges that CBS has not paid them for years because the network claims the net profits have been wiped out since the annual salary was boosted from $45 million to $47 million a year. Dude, she's getting $47 million a year. Dude, crazy. $47 million is quite a high salary and leaves nothing for any of the people that's supposed to receive profits. So they say that all the profits are gone, but it's still in the air. That doesn't sound plausible. This sounds like some Hollywood accounting stuff. They're going to have fun. Rebel Entertainment's president, in the lawsuit says that they discovered Shylin 20 years ago and helped her get the show. The lawsuit claims Judge Judy has grossed more than $1.7 billion since its premiere in 1996. She is an entertaining person to the tune of $2 billion. The lawsuit says that Rebel Media is entitled to 5% of the show's net profits. This is a Hollywood accounting thing, right? We have no net profits. That's where we're going. And the agency has not received a dime since February 2010. So that's a long time. It's an egregious violation of contract and should not be allowed. Rebel Media also accuses CBS of not consulting with its agency about a packaging fee when Shylin created a spin-off show called Hot Bench, which they were also supposed to get paid for because of the talent agency. The talent agency claims the CBS was obligated to discuss the show because, that was part of the deal. Shylin is not named in the defendant in the lawsuit because, she's not part of the thing that's paying. She's not responsible for that. So she's not named in it. In a statement, she classifies some of the lawsuit's claims as real chutzpah. The fact that Richard Lawrence is complaining about my salary is actually hilarious. I met Mr. Lawrence for 2 hours some 21 years ago. Neither I nor anyone involved in the day-to-day production of my program has heard from him in 20 years. Not a card, not a gift, not a flower, not a congratulations. I mean, you probably should be sending something to your cash cow every once in a while to remind them that you love them. So that's just dereliction. Yet somehow he's received over $17 million from my program. My rudimentary math translates that to $8 million an hour. Not a bad payday. For the 2 hours that she met him. She continued now complaining about getting enough money. That's real chutzpah. Since I haven't spoken with Mr. Lawrence over 20 years, to suggest he had any involvement in my creating of Hot Bench is equally laughable. But again, if he was involved in the initial creation of the deal, he might have to get a portion of all that, but I'm sure someone will figure that out with all the contracts. So that's the end of that. And at least for the moment, that's the end of that story. All right, let's see what else we got today. I want to wait for loss to be over. Do 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 do. All right. You'll take half? I'm sure you would. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay, that's not displaying properly. All right, so let's see what else we got. Hunter Biden has failed to delay trials relating to gun charges. That might be worth a story. That might be worth an excerpt. I don't know what we're doing over here. I don't even know if I'm going to excerpt these or not. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making things up as I go along, guys. By the way, incidentally, a tornado kind of went through my neighborhood. It was very, very windy and very, very rainy. It was pretty intense there for a hot minute. In northwest Houston, where I live, it was pretty intense. Runkle the Bailey. Runkle the Bailey's here. Oh, you sent me some texts? Oh, I didn't even notice. That's okay. What'd you send me some texts for? Runkle said, I'm in a conference call on Zoom. So Friday I asked you if you wanted to join my stream, and you said I'm at a conference call, and then today you said I'm on a Zoom. Okay, that was just confusing. We love you, Runkle. But anyways, the tornado did not kill me, so that was plus. We love Runkle the Bailey. All right, let's see. All right, let's do a story about this. In Hunter Biden news, the judge has rejected Hunter Biden's latest bid to delay his federal gun case. So you'll remember this as one of two cases that is currently pending against Mr. Biden, the son. Mr. Biden, the son, is facing charges relating to tax evasion, and also in a separate case relating to illegal possession of a firearm by a person under the control of a controlled substances. So, all that stuff. Hunter Biden's federal gun case will go to trial next month, the judge said, denying the bid to delay prosecution. U.S. District Judge rejected the bid to push the trial in Delaware until September, when defense said it was necessary to line up witnesses and go through evidence handed over by the prosecution. There's not a lot of witnesses. It's a pretty easy case. Exhibit number 1, the book that Hunter Biden himself wrote, which helps a lot. The judge says he believes everyone can get done what needs to get done by the trial start date of June 3rd. Later Tuesday, a 3-judge panel of federal appeal court said the tax case against him, which should go to trial in California, can also move forward. The Ninth Circuit, for its part, dismissed a defense effort to throw out that case. And we looked at the information on that thing, or was it an indictment? I forget which one it was. I forget if they went forward on an information or indictment. But either way, we looked at the charging document from the U.S. government, and it looked pretty impressive. It looked like Mr. Biden, again, Hunter Biden, had been avoiding some taxes for quite some time. So it was problematic. Yeah. The 2 rulings mean that Joe Biden's son could be headed to trial next month in 2 criminal cases on opposite sides in the midst of his father's re-election campaign, yet to be determined whether his father will pardon him, which I'm sure will be over great. In Delaware, Hunter Biden is accused of lying about his drug use on a form to buy a gun that he kept for about 11 days. Well, that's not strictly speaking the issue, although it's partially the issue. More the point is that he owned and possessed a firearm as a prohibited person. You can't own or possess a firearm if you're addicted to drugs, or a habitual user, to use the exact parlance of the language, 18 U.S.C. 922G. I can keep up. He has pled not guilty and acknowledged struggling with an addiction, but his lawyer said he didn't break the law. He was a habitual user. He's in violation of 18 U.S.C. 922G. I think it's G8, but I have to double check. Special counsel teams plans to show the jurors in the gun case portions of his memoir. Yeah, he wrote about it in his book, in which he details his struggle with alcoholism and drug abuse, which admits, that he was a habitual user. During a hearing in Delaware, Hunter Biden's lawyer told the judge that many experts the defense has approached have been reluctant to testify, citing the media. I mean, what experts do you have? He's a habitual user, man. I mean, it's a pretty easy case. Is he a habitual user? Yes. Did he have possession? Yes. I'm not sure what else you need to prove here. It's kind of easy. It's kind of a one and done case, man. The prosecutor has pushed back on the suggestion the media touts as a blame. If it's written in his memoir, he was in active addiction. Yeah, I mean, that's probably a pretty reasonable conclusion. I don't know what expert they say they think he wasn't. I think that's the issue. That's a real problem. The book is kind of a problem. Okay, the defense attorney says he wasn't trying to find an expert to refute Biden's addiction struggles, but to discuss the ability for someone to recognize in the moment they're an addict. But the language of the statute doesn't say addict. It says habitual user. So you don't have to recognize that you're an addict. You just have to recognize you're an habitual user. And so do you use the drug on a regular? Okay, then you're illegal. There you go. That's one of the reasons they wrote it that way, for exactly that reason. What's an addict? I don't know. Do you use it regularly? Okay, you're there. And incidentally, I don't know for this for sure, but I seem to remember as I'm having a neuron fire in the back of my brain that the DEA once took the position that habitual user meant anyone who had used the drug within the last calendar year. So I don't know if that's what it means, but I think that as a neuron fires in the back of my brain, they once took that position. So all that's good. Yeah. The defense has argued the prosecution is bowed to pressure by Republicans, who claimed the Democratic president was initially given a sweetheart deal. It was pretty sweetheart, as the judge himself kind of noted as they tear it apart. And he was indicted because of political pressure. Well, I mean, the Biden administration has been anti-gun for a long time, so hey, why not? But the person who was nominated to the bench by Donald Trump last month rejected the claim. The prosecution is politically motivated, which incidentally is pretty hard to prove under the best of circumstances, right? Trying to prove political prosecution, that's basically impossible. Selective prosecution, basically impossible. So, hey, you're just on the wrong end of the stick, man. So it's not a surprise you're having a tough time. A 3-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals said the case could move forward, though Biden's lawyer said that they would continue to press for an appeal. Good luck. They're going to try to appeal on the Second Amendment issue, and it'll be hilarious if Hunter Biden is the one who gets the gun ban struck down because of the Second Amendment. I'm here for it. If Hunter Biden is the one who gets the regulations relating to ownership of guns struck down as unconstitutional, I'm here for the delicious, delicious irony. He can have his freedom, and I will enjoy the sweet, sweet irony for the rest of time. He can still go to jail on a tax thing, though. That's fine. Hunter Biden lawyers appealed to the Ninth Circuit after that judge dismissed the indictment. The three-judge court of the appeals court didn't rule on the merits, but said the issues can't be appealed because, of course, they can't. It's interlocutory. He was supposed to plead guilty to the misdemeanor tax charge, but, of course, once the judge actually examined the deal, the whole thing kind of went to hell, as it does, and all the rest of it. He's charged in Delaware with 2 counts of making false statements. First, for checking a box stating he was not addicted to drugs, and second, for giving the shop for its federally required records. Yes, so lying on the form and then possessing the gun. A third count unless he possessed the gun, despite knowing he was a drug user. In California, he's charged with 3 felonies and 6 misdemeanors for the $1.4 million of taxes he didn't pay, and it was one hell of a thing to read. It was one hell of a thing to read with the charging document. He's in a lot of trouble in that tax stuff. The government doesn't mess around when it comes to taxes. This is what took down Capone. So that's all good. And that brings us to the end of that story. Did Runkle leave me? Did Runkle leave me $10 and then depart again? That's sad for me. That's sad for me. Hey, by the way, Tony/other mods, please remind me next week to invite Melanie Little and Natalie the lawyer chick onto the stream. I had mentioned it to them as a possibility, and I want to see if either one of them will join me next week. So like Thursday morning, a week from now, if you remember, remind me in case I forget. I'll try to remember too, but you can also help keep me in check there. That'd be great. So yeah. Oh, Ian is streaming right now? Okay. So he sent me a text message and then started his own stream. Okay, that's even weirder. I'm confused. But fine. Yeah, he stopped by to say hi, but then still streaming? Cool. All right, so I misunderstood. That's fine. Do I want to cover the lawyer who shot at the McDonald's? Is there anything here? Well, this is from your neck of the woods. Okay. 800,000 people are without power in Houston. That sucks. I feel very lucky to have power then. It was one hell of a rainstorm. I'm not surprised power went out in different parts. All right. Am I doing the Karen retrial? No, I'm putting together edited videos. Tomorrow's going to be a research day for the next edited video. That's what I'm doing. I'm streaming on. So I'm streaming 11 a.m. to 4ish. I've been doing the last couple days. I'm planning on doing it tomorrow too, streaming 11 a.m. till. So tomorrow's going to be a research day for the next video. Trying to figure out what story we want to cover, trying to figure out how we want to go about covering it, trying to think about what media assets we're going to use. So tomorrow will be a research day, script writing day, trying to find things in Vedo elements we can use. Also, probably in the morning, what I'll do is probably like first thing in the morning, probably like reinstall DaVinci Resolve and see if we can figure out how to get the like transitions working. So we can do that for the future, because that'd be cool. Yeah. All right, so in an attorney's last argument results in a denial news, a man is accused of fatally shooting an attorney who attempted to intervene to de-escalate a situation at a McDonald's. The man was just trying to help, just trying to get involved, and he lost his life for it, which I'm not sure what the takeaway lesson here is. I mean, the most obvious takeaway lesson is, stay out of other people's business, but I don't know if that's the kind of society we want to live in either. So it's just a sad tale, man. It's just a sad tale. The Houston man is accused of murdering a McDonald's customer who intervened in the dispute. Anthony Landry, 57, had entered the McDonald's about 6 p.m. and demanded a refund, according to the complaint. The restaurant managers told police Landry became irate and called an employee different racial slurs. One customer, who was identified by police as 46-year-old Jeffrey Limmer, stepped in to defend the employees, which sparked an argument between him and the suspect. The argument then turned physical outside the restaurant. When Limmer went back inside, police say Landry took a gun from his vehicle, followed him inside, and shot him multiple times, dying on the scene. So, yeah, that's premeditated murder. That's premeditated murder, right? The 46-year-old was outside. They engaged in a fight for a while. The attorney went back inside the restaurant, and then the man went to his car, got a gun, and came inside the restaurant and killed him. That's premeditated murder in Texas. Yeah, so he's gonna fry, man. Police say Landry then fell the scene and turned himself into police. Well, he's going down hard. His sister told the news that he was an attorney, or the sister of the person said that he told the news that he was an attorney who spent his career trying to help others, so wasn't surprised when police said that was what he's trying to do. Knowing Jeff, he's always wanted to say, calm down, it's not that big deal, and try to divert the situation. He always wanted to fight for the little guy. Landry is charged with murder, super duper murder, premeditated murder, I'm sure, and remains in jail. He's going down hard, and I sincerely hope a needle's put in his arm, or otherwise. I'll be happy to do it personally on behalf of the profession. And that is the end of that story. We will not be posting that one, obviously, but I feel better having said it. It's very sad he left a family. Well, I don't know. If it were me, it doesn't become any less sad because I don't have a family. Murder's bad. Just don't do the murder. Tony's right. Just don't do the murder. All right, let's see what else we got in the news today. Okay, we got Florida Man games, which is going to be fun. We got Florida Man with Pokemon. That's a fun story. Let's see what else we got. Emotional support goose. I don't know what emotional support goose means, but I'm interested for it. All right, let's learn a little bit more about emotional support goose. In an unexpected follow-up to Untitled Goose Game news, a woman is having to fight to keep her emotional support goose. I thought all geese were kind of, jerks. But this goose apparently is the light of someone's life. Who knew? Emotional support geese. I've heard it all. The Iowa woman is currently battling city officials to keep her emotional support goose. Angel bought her goose, Blue, as a pet about 14 months ago, but it soon morphed into so much more, helping her with a list of mental issues. I never thought to buy a goose for my depression, but maybe that's the answer. He's the light of my day. Every morning when I wake up and see his face, he makes the day 1,000 times better. He's helped me so much. The goose is going to peck off your face one day. The problem, apparently, is that geese are prohibited in the city, according to the municipal code. Okay. The woman has documentation from her medical team that addresses her need for the emotional support animal. In addition to her mental health needs, she's a recovering drug addict with 4 years sober. Does the geese eat the drugs? I don't know. The woman said she has thoughts of self-harm and thoughts to use drugs again until Blue, the goose, entered her life. It is the goose who keeps laying all of those golden eggs. Once I got Blue, which is ironic because apparently the geese saves her from depression, so not so sure about Blue, but whatever. Once I got Blue, he saved me from that. I remain clean. She's now fighting to officially register Blue as an emotional support animal and hopes this will help them keep having to move. I would sell my house and move. I can't get rid of him. At City Hall, reporters were told no decision has been made and they would not be commenting. The city attorney responded to a request for comment with a copy of the ordinance dealing with keeping and raising livestock. And that is the end of that story. Yeah, I thought geese were bastards, but apparently this is good goose. Who knew? All right. All right, let's see. How do we want to wrap this thing up? What is this one about racetrack? The man who takes a bite of pizza and leaves without pizza paying. Yeah, it's a little petty for our needs. But let's see what else we got. Okay, we got Pokemon, which I definitely want to cover. We got Florida Man games, which I want to cover. And we got bees. We end with Cali, I think. I think we end with Cali. All right, let's discuss Florida Man and Florida Man games. Yeah, well, I think we'll end with Florida Man. Or end with bees. All right. In Florida Man Games is coming back and is going to be bigger and better than ever news. The Florida Man Games, a 2024 feature that featured games that put Florida Man against each other, is coming back to a bigger venue, which surprises absolutely no one. I didn't make the inaugural games, but I feel like I have to go to Florida Man 2025. I need you guys to sponsor me. I need the VIP tickets. I need some sweet tickets. I need some box seats for Florida Man 2025. We need to start a GoFundMe or something. I don't know, but I need a piece of this in my life. Floridians can be strange. If you haven't been paying attention to Sunshine State, and how can you not, because it's on the headlines all the time, Florida Man isn't just the title of a Netflix series. In February, a sort of Olympic Games for people who consider themselves Florida men, and unclear whether or not people from other states can compete or not, because if they I'm here for it. Texas man wins Florida Games. Could be a thing, man. The inaugural Florida Games took place in St. Augustine, with teams of men competing in challenges like beer belly sumo wrestling and evading an arrest obstacle court. The Florida Man Games are coming back in 2025, and who takes out insurance for this? What kind of insurance do you get for this thing? And they're already accepting submissions for those who want to assemble, timble, and complete. Here are some Florida men in some intertubes and stuff. The Florida Man Games were held at Francis Field in downtown St. Augustine in February, but next year the games will be held in a new and exciting venue, according to a press release. Just when the world thought Floridians couldn't be any wilder, they did. The new Florida Man Games return March the 1st, and how they got it insured for round 2, no one will know. That's what I said. How do you get this insurance? Who writes that insurance, man? Who writes that insurance? This irreverent competition, where the state's most unruly residents serve as demigods of athletic prowess, is getting even weirder with new competition, more insane teams, and brand new venue. At the 2024 Florida Man Games, team of Florida men went head-to-head in challenges like weaponized pool noodle mud dueling, and evading arrest, a Category 5 hurricane winds cash grab, beer belly sumo wrestling, and more. There was also a Florida Ma'am pinup competition, awesome, and other events like chicken bingo and a mullet competition. The evading arrest course will return in 2025, along with new challenges like Florida Sumo cage match and enough space for tailgating. The event will move to the St. Johns County Fairgrounds until it's held in some arena somewhere. We're just not trying. We're expecting an even bigger crowd at next year's event, so it made sense to move it out of St. Johns County Fairgrounds, where we'll have even more space, a covered arena, and this year, we're excited to introduce the RV tailgating arena. I need box seats. Hey, Peter Tragos, lawyer you know, I'm calling you out. I need you to sponsor me. I need you to sponsor me for Florida Man Games. You know you want to. You want to have your law firm on like a piece of my shorts or something, or your lawyer no legal on my shirt. Peter Tragos, I'm calling you out. I need you to sponsor me. March 1st, 2025, Florida Man Games. I'll make Law 2 proud. Let's go. All right, in order to compete, you unfortunately need to be a Florida resident. Now, how are we defining Florida resident? Because depending on how we're defining Florida resident, I'm willing to manipulate legal definitions. What does it take to be a Florida resident? Yeah. You have to submit a video showing all your team members, get creative and have be fun, and only 12 teams will be accepted, each representing a different city. Peter Tragos, I know you can do it. Peter Tragos, I need a lawyer. I need a lawyer in Florida to argue why I qualify as a Florida resident. / give me a Florida address. We could sign a lease. I'll give you $1 and I can have an official lease in Florida or something. I don't know. We'll make it work. Apparently, last year's winner was a person named Hanky Spanky, or team, therefore. If you've got the grit, send a short video showing what your team can do. So, hey, I'm there for it, and that brings us to the end of this story. Good times, man. Good times. Looking at you. Looking at you. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. All right. Pro Hawk for the games? Yeah, something like that. I'll tell you what, man. All right. And I wouldn't have gotten away. Let me try that again. Yeah. And I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling kids news. A Florida man thought he had the perfect crime by stealing Pokemon cards. I mean, what person would be fit enough to stop him? But little did he know, waiting in the wings was a hero, a topless MMA coach. Because of course there was, because it's Florida. The Florida man's attempt to abscond with $30,000 worth of Pokemon cards was thwarted after 2 MMA coaches tackled and restrained him. That's just bad luck, man. That's just bad luck. You've got the perfect crime. It's going to be you. You're going to sweep in, take those Pokemon cards. They're not going to be able to catch you, man. And then bam, 2 MMA fighters. That's just bad luck, man. On May the 6th, the man allegedly entered the Pro Play games in Miami asking to see a binder filled with cards, which he then snatched in an attempt to flee with. The store's general manager told NBC, it was just like at that moment, I felt so helpless because we were just watching like $30,000 or $40,000 of our hard work just walk off. The man apparently told the man to drop the binder, but the thief looked back looking. Footage has since circulated on social media of bystanders confronting the thief. In the video, 3 men, one of whom is shirtless because, again, Florida, can be seen apprehending and restraining the suspect on the floor. This is good. This is good stuff. I need this in my life. This is fun stuff. My friend jumped out of the car, cut him off, and that's when we got on top of him and used our jiu-jitsu to subdue him. One of the 2 martial arts coaches from the nearby center said. Police identified the suspect as 33-year-old Jazil Menafral. He was charged with aggravated assault and grand theft. Fun stuff, man. In 2021, YouTube influencer Logan Paul, who still owes people money for the scams, purchased a highly coveted PSA Grade 10 Illustrator card for $5.2 million trade in Dubai, breaking the record for the most expensive Pokemon trading card ever sold at a private sale. He's got the $5.2 million for the trading card, does not have money to pay people back for the scams. Their explosion in value also, of course, makes them a target for the criminals. In 2021, another Florida man was arrested for stealing more than $600 of the cards from a local Walmart. A Yakuza boss, nice, was arrested by Japanese police in connection with a theft that included 25 Pokemon cards. The man was reportedly the leader of a family and part of one of the largest Yakuza groups in Japan. The Yakuza are not the intimidating force I thought they once were. These silent mafiosos of the night have been reduced to stealing Pokemon cards. I'm not feeling it, man. I'm not feeling it. All right, guys, it's time to watch some videos, so let's watch this thing. Oh, yeah. Yep. No, that's a pretty effective hold, I have to say, man. Got him hard. Yep. Bad boy, bad boy. What you gonna do when the Pokemon police come for you? Wow. I mean, that's an effective takedown right there, man. That's awesome. And that brings us to the end of this story, and this guy is facing all kinds of fun charges for his super duper theft. How humiliating. What a story he'll have for prison. All right, good times. All right, and now we end with Callie. Guys, if we're going to end with Callie, I'm gonna need some beef fish in this. I'm gonna need some beef fish. I'm gonna need some beef fish in chat. Beef fish. 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 All right, let's get beef fish story going on. In Callie, the bee fish has helped stage a breakout news. 15 million bees have escaped a bee-laden truck in a crash that I fear Callie the bee fish might have orchestrated. The tractor trailer hauling 15 million honeybees used to pollinate blueberry fields has crashed and overturned on I-95. The bees are free, man. The bees are free. The driver, who was taken to a hospital as a precaution, while first responders worked to ensure the safety of the bees that were in hives strapped on the trailer, which landed on its sides. The bees were mostly contained, and the goal was to save them, according to the spokesperson. First responders didn't realize the cargo was bees until the firefighters went down the embankment to check for leaking fluids, and they learned the hard way. 15 million bees, man. 15 million bees. Callie is staging a breakout. Staging a breakout. Yeah. The guys did get stung on a regular basis. Everyone got stung at least a couple of times, said the people. The temperature, which was in the 40s, might have stopped the bees from getting too rowdy. It took the truck to get upright and removed by a tow truck. A beekeeper was summoned to corral the bees. That's one hell of a job, man. The truckload of bees was headed to Washington County, which is the center of the state's wildlife blueberry industry. Bees are routinely trucked into the region to pollinate the blueberry barrens every spring. And that is the end of that story. And as for the swoop, we never really did the swoop because we never really could figure out how to get the swoop working. We could never really figure out how to get the swoop working. The only way I can do it is manually every time. I see other people like push their soundboard and stuff and they get it running. I just don't know how to do it. So we never got it working because no one ever showed me how. So that's the end of that story. So, yeah. All right, guys, I guess that's going to bring us to the end of the stream. So I guess the stream will be members only. And yeah, and that will be the end of the stream. So I hope we enjoyed it all. And I will cut up some of those stories and release them throughout the week. But tomorrow's going to be the day for the big drop for the story we've been working on. That's going to be the big drop. So I'm not going to release any other stories tomorrow. I'm just going to release the edited story. I'll probably release it at, say, like, I don't know. What's a good time? Noon? Yeah. I'll probably release it at noon and go from there. And we'll be on tomorrow at 11 and do stuff. So that should be fun. All right. All right, guys. Well, this has been fun, man. I'll talk to you next time. Until later, my friend.